You're called in because someone on both sides is smart enough to know that a deal is cheaper than a war. You sit between two bosses in a ranch house outside Monterey. Both arrived with armed convoys. The bodyguards stand along the walls like statues. The air in the room is thick with the kind of tension that makes your ears ring. You do what you always do. You listen for 45 minutes. You take notes. You reframe. You look for the gap. But this time, there is no gap. One boss wants the crossing because his entire northern distribution depends on it. The other boss wants the crossing because he just spent 30 men and $4 million taking it, and giving it back means those men died for nothing. There's no third territory to offer. No creative structure. No revenue split that satisfies both. It's zero-sum, and your entire career is built on finding non-zero-sum solutions in zero-sum rooms. You spend 4 hours trying. You propose shared access with rotating schedules. Rejected. You propose a joint venture with split revenue. Rejected. You propose buying one side out with a lump sum funded by the other's Colombian contacts. Rejected. The meeting ends with both men standing up and walking out without looking at you or each other. 3 days later, one of them is dead. Assassinated at his ranch. His wife and 2 bodyguards killed alongside him. The war escalates. 47 people die in the next month. You read about each one. You see photos of the funeral processions in small-town newspapers that cover cartel violence like weather. And you do the math nobody else does. You were in the room. You had 4 hours and every tool you've ever built. And you couldn't find the sentence that would have kept 47 people alive. Your father used to come home and say, "Nobody got everything they wanted. That means it worked." He negotiated between factory owners and unions. The worst outcome was a strike and some lost wages. The worst outcome in your world is a mass grave outside Monterey that they're still finding bodies in 6 months later. You start drinking, not falling apart. Just enough to soften the edges of the math that runs through your head at 3 a.m. 47 people. You keep a newspaper clipping of the first funeral in your desk drawer. You don't know why. Maybe to remind yourself that words have weight, and sometimes the weight isn't enough. You keep working because stopping isn't an option. You know every deal, every route, every alliance, every arrangement between every organization you've sat between. You're a living map of the cartel world's architecture. If you disappear, the deals you brokered start unraveling. If you talk, half the criminal infrastructure in Mexico goes to prison. You're too valuable to release and too dangerous to let walk away. The chair between 2 enemies that used to feel like power now feels like a cell with no walls and no door. You can't leave because leaving means the map in your head becomes a liability. And liabilities in this world don't retire. They get erased. A final call comes. The biggest negotiation of your career. 2 of the most powerful cartels in Mexico are on the edge of a full-scale war that would destabilize the entire country. Territory disputes across 4 states, supply chains collapsing, civilian casualties rising. The government is threatening military intervention that would shut down every corridor on the border. Government officials are quietly involved. Military commanders who prefer managed peace to unmanageable chaos. Even American DEA agents who privately understand that a stable cartel structure moves product predictably, and a cartel war turns the border into a disaster that spills into Texas. You're asked to broker the deal that holds Mexico together. Not officially. Nobody will ever acknowledge this meeting happened. You sit in a hotel suite in Querétaro for 2 days with 12 men who collectively control more territory than some national governments. You listen, hour after hour. You take notes on hotel stationery. You map every grievance, every demand, every red line. Then you do what you do. You find the gaps. Territory splits along natural boundaries that both sides can defend without conflict. Revenue sharing on 3 contested corridors based on volume and historical access. A communication protocol, so disputes get resolved in rooms like this instead of on highways. An enforcement mechanism that both sides agree to honor, because violating it triggers economic consequences that hurt worse than bullets. You draft the framework by hand. 16 pages on hotel paper. Both sides read it. Both sides push back. You revise. They push back again. You revise again. On the second night at 3 a.m., both sides sign. The war doesn't happen. Thousands of lives saved by hotel stationery and a man who learned to listen at his father's kitchen table. You fly home. You sit in your apartment. You pour a drink. The news is quiet tonight. No shootings, no ambushes, no convoys burning on highways. Because of you. And you want to feel proud, but you can't because the peace you brokered doesn't stop the drugs from flowing. It doesn't save the addicts, or the mules, or the families destroyed by the product that moves through routes you helped design. You didn't stop the machine. You just made sure it runs without grinding. Your father settled strikes so workers could feed their families. You settle wars so cartels can move cocaine without interruption. Same skill. Same chair. Same calm voice, finding the gap between what two sides want. Same phrase at the end of the night. Nobody got everything they wanted. That means it worked. The only difference is what's on the table. And that difference is the distance between the man your father raised you to be and the man you became. You put the glass down. The phone rings. Someone needs you in a room somewhere. Two men who want each other dead need a voice in the middle. You pick up. You answer. Because that's what negotiators do. They sit in the chair. They find the words. And they live with whatever those words make possible. That's a wrap. This story is fiction, but cartel negotiations are real. Behind every peace between criminal organizations, there's someone who sat in the room and found the deal. Most of them started out legit.